everybody, and welcome to another version of Bill Roden in Sports. I'm on sports. I'm Bill Roden in Harlem, USA, and you know, uh, everybody's very excited about the Knicks. I'm headed to. I was at the Garden last night with the Knicks kind of coming through and pulling to win 3 games to 2. Now I'm headed to Indianapolis, where a lot of people feel that it will come to an end. But I don't know. That's why you play the game. Anyway, I know I'm here with my co-host, the great Jamal Murphy, holding it down. What's going on, Jamal? How's youth sports going?
Youth sports is taking up a lot of my time, more than I anticipated or wanted, but I'm having fun. I can't lie. It's fun while I'm in it. You
Okay.
know, I sometimes I dread the amount of time, but once I'm actually doing it, I have fun. And it's I'm learning. I'm learning about this AAU thing that people complain about all the time. Too many games, not enough practice. Are we really developing the kids? What's going on here? Are most of the programs just trying to win instead of develop the kids? So I'm in the I've been huddling with my coaching staff, trying to decide how we want to do it, and we're leaning
You want
towards
to
us.
win, right?
We want to develop the kids, Bill. We want to develop the
You
kids.
want to win? You want to get
Well,
clobbered?
no, we want to win, but developing the kids is more important. We'll take the L if it means just focusing on the games and playing time rather than making sure kids can dribble and make a layup and know the game and know how to make the right pass and play the right way. We'd rather develop that in
But
the long run.
do you have any nutty parents? I mean, like Cat. Do you have Tyrese Halliburton's dad? Kind of parent.
Not really. I think we have a good group of parents. Every now and then a parent will try to stick their head in and say something, but not too bad. I had it worse when I
Right.
was coaching JV at Poly Prep. It was the parents were a little more intrusive there, but they pay a lot of money for the
Well, they're
schools.
entitled.
Right,
They figure we pay for this.
right.
I wonder if do they pay for the kids to play? So, well, we're paying full tuition. I want no
Exactly,
scholarship. I want my kid to play.
exactly, exactly. So, but no, we've gotten good feedback, and so most of the parents are like, yeah, no, I appreciate you going back to basics and you know teaching them the game and blah blah blah, rather than putting all the emphasis on winning and losing. So far so good, and we haven't, it's not like we're terrible. We
What's your record?
I think we're like 500, around 500. You know, but it's like these little tournaments, right? There's like we have 3 practices a week, and then there's these tournaments. Like we didn't have a tournament. We don't have a tournament this weekend, but most weekends there's like a tournament where there's like 2 games on Saturday and maybe 2 games on Sunday. So,
Where are the tournaments?
sometimes in New Jersey, sometimes in Brooklyn, at various gyms. Last week we were at Kingsborough Community College in Brooklyn. There was like a bunch of 5th grade, 6th grade teams. Um, they'll have it at different gyms. Like Sunday would be at a different same tournament, but different gym somewhere else in Brooklyn. So it's all spread out.
Do any gyms look like ours? Have you been to our gym here at Intersection?
I
Uh,
have, I have.
Old school. Any gyms look like that?
No, no, not anymore. When I was a kid, we played in those type of gyms. I know that.
I don't know, man. You think we get a game here? Well, parents kind of freak out.
Uh, you could get a little scrimmage action. You know.
Yeah, you should bring some of your kids up here, man.
Okay.
We
Okay.
do a little scrum. What are your age groups?
Well, I'm coaching 5th grade.
Yeah, well, we have a list. We have fifth, sixth. I mean, we can mix it all in, right?
All right. All right. All
Couple
right.
eighth, couple ninth. Yeah. Well, good. Oh man, sorry, viewers. It's a fireball. It's really hot. Holy mackerel! I thought I could play it off. It's like really hot. Holy mackerel! What is it? Oh, look, this is what I'm eating. Oh, you can't even read this, right? It's on backwards.
It's backwards, but someone will figure it
Atomic,
out.
atomic fireballs.
Mm.
Anyway, speaking of fireballs, man, the Knicks are hot, right?
Yeah, for
As
one
as,
game.
as a New York, they're down one. So what do you make of the series, man? The very first one, they blew it right at
Yeah,
the end. They should have won it. Well,
right.
if you should have won it, you would have won it. Uh, they lost game 2. Then they went down to Indianapolis, won game 3, lost game 4, came back to New York, One game five kind of going away. So what do you think, man? As a New Yorker, as a basketball coach, as a used to be Knicks fan, jump to Brooklyn. What do you think? What do you think of your New York Knicks?
I'm glad they came up big for Game Five. I'm glad they showed some pride and took care of business. They played well. It was kind of like Game One, except they finished it off. They continued. They didn't fall off at the end of the fourth quarter like they did in Game One. But in this instance, they were able to continue the level of play that they played throughout the game and finish the Pacers off. So that was encouraging. Game six, obviously the Pacers are the favorite. You would expect the Pacers to take to win that game and move on to the NBA Finals. You would expect Halliburton to bounce back from a poor Game Five performance, as he's done throughout the series. When he's had a poor game, especially in Indiana, he was able to bounce back and have a monster game. What was it? 4.
Legendary game, yeah.
Yeah, legendary game. So if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm scared of that. But I think, you know, sports is also about momentum, right? So there's a chance that the Knicks, definitely played their best game of the series uh, in Game Five. They look like they played the best defense they have in a while, probably since the Boston Celtics series. So if they can continue that and play with that same intensity, they might have a shot in Game Six. That's the only way. I think they have to, for obviously offensively, Brunson will have to perform, Cat will have to perform, other their core 5-6 guys will have to perform, but defensively is the key. They're gonna have to play better defense than they usually do, right? Than they have really all season. They haven't been a defensive team this season like they were last season. They were a scrappy defensive team last season. This season they add Cat. Uh, that brings problems to them defensively. So they're going to have to.
Jay Brunson, they target him
Yeah, they
defensively.
target him. The kind of like the unathletic guys. I mean, they look good on offense because they tremendously skilled and have footwork and all that. But defensively, you get taken advantage of.
You get right.
Um, so that's the problem. So they're going to have to step it up defensively. And what they kind of, to me, they kind of look like OKC. Um, like they were kind of doing what OKC was doing
The Knicks
uh,
look like OKC.
in terms of defensively. They were great. OKC is known for grabbing defensively off the ball, holding, and then so I'm watching highlights of this Knicks Pacers game, and they keep showing the highlight of them guarding Halliburton, and Bridges is basically holding him, off the ball, right?
Uh-oh.
And refs haven't been calling that.
Well,
Now
they're
that
gonna call tomorrow.
right now that they're showing the replay of this, I'm sure a memo's been sent around. But and that's the key also how the whistle goes, because last time the Knicks were in Indiana, yes, I know they shot a lot of free throws, but there were a lot of blatantly missed calls that didn't go the Knicks' way. So if that happens again, they could forget it.
So do you think Halliburton is a superstar? There's sort of been, I guess, the latest debate. In fact, I'm writing a column about that. About I don't know, what are the levels. There's a regular player, star, superstar. What's sort of the where is he ranked? Do you think he's a superstar?
Nah, I think he's a star. He's a star player. I don't even think Jalen Brunson is a superstar. I think Jalen Brunson is a star. And I think to have that superstar status, and there are some exceptions, but I think generally to have that superstar status, you got to at least, if you carried your team to the finals or maybe even won a championship. I guess, you could say Anthony Edwards. Is Anthony Edwards a superstar? Probably, because, of the highlights and the jumping ability and dunking on people and the personality that can kind of take the place of a championship or reaching the finals. But I don't think Halliburton has all that other stuff. So I think he needs to win something first.
He doesn't jump out the gym. He's not, nor does Brunson.
Right.
So you think they're firmly ensconced at being stars on their team, but not superstars in the league.
Yeah, they're stars. To me, they're all stars, and yes, all NBA caliber players. I mean, let me ask you, Bill. Would you consider Jason Tatum a superstar?
Yeah, I mean, it's always. I mean, it's a silly designation. I
It
mean,
is silly.
what are you talking about? Super. I mean, what?
Right. We're falling into the media trap right here.
Yeah,
The current sports media trap of
yes.
debate TV.
I
You
know.
know.
I know. We can't. I mean, what are we gonna do?
But hey, they create the narrative. Now we gotta discuss it. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. I mean, a star player. I mean, what is a super? I mean,
What
although I
is a
would
superstar?
say I kind of go by the test of time that 6 years you will have had to perform at a very high level for like consistent level for 6 years, and that probably means like Tatum probably falls into that. For 6 years, I guess I'd have to go back and look at his numbers, his average.
No, he's done it.
They won a championship. They played in the Eastern Conference Finals. This is the first time Brunson has got to the Eastern Conference Finals, I believe, and I think that Halliburton,
Right.
he was at the Eastern Conference Finals last year, got hurt.
Right.
You know, now I guess I don't know if he edged Brunson off for the Olympic team. I don't know if it was between him and Brunson.
Right.
He got to the Olympic team, didn't play at all.
Right.
That he had the least amount of minutes of anybody on the entire team.
Right. Right.
So, but
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
is he a superstar?
I mean, if you win MVP, are you a superstar automatically?
Yeah, and I guess we have to define what does superstar mean.
Yeah, what is it? I mean, would you say? I guess you would have to say, Jokic is a superstar, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess we have to like a bunch of black reporters had lunch in Indianapolis, and we were debating the word.
Wait, they didn't. The Trump administration didn't break that up.
Oh, don't mention it, man.
All right, I'm just checking.
We didn't give permission.
Sorry, I don't want to get political.
Yeah.
No,
we met, and it wasn't broken up.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure.
We didn't tell anybody either. We just kind of.
Okay, good.
We just kind of did it.
Now they'll just know after the fact. That's
we'll probably do it again.
No, don't say that, Bill. Oh, okay. Don't tell anybody.
We decided not to do it. Not to do it. None of that kind of stuff, because there's no need for black folks to acknowledge that anyway.
Right. So wait. So you guys were talking,
and we are debating cool. Like right now, we talk about what is a superstar, and they were going. Somebody on some blog post or something wrote who was cool, who cool players, and so we kind of got into this thing about cool. Well, who are cool players, and what is cool? By the way, we never quite got to that definition of what is cool. What constitutes cool? I mean, imagine if Miles Davis was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this dictionary, my Oxford American
Heritage. That's a big dictionary.
Well, nobody even uses it anymore. But I'm trying to see if they have superpower, super rich, super saver, super scribe, supersede, superstar.
Yes, what is it?
Superstar, a widely acclaimed star, as in movies or sports, who has great popular appeal, one that is extremely popular or prominent, or that is a major attraction. So they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't see anything in there about winning.
No, it says great popular appeal, or one that is extremely popular or prominent. So based on this definition of superstar,
Halliburton is not.
Popularity. So is he popular? Is he wildly popular?
No, if you ask a non-basketball fan, would they know Tyrese Halliburton?
So who will people know? People will know LeBron James,
Steph Curry.
They'll know Steph Curry, Michael Jordan.
Well, let's talk about current players. Let's keep it current.
Will they know Ant-Man? They know that stupid ass name. Why would you call yourself Ant-Man?
He's on the cusp of superstardom. I can't even say he's a superstar yet. He's on the cusp because of his personality. Remember, he's been in movies. He was in that Adam Sandler movie.
Oh, really?
So people beyond basketball might recognize him. He's in a lot of commercials. Tatum is in a lot of commercials. So these are people. So those two people might know. I
Right.
haven't seen Halliburton in a commercial.
That's right. Well, he's got to get that. Maybe that's it. He's
He's
got to.
not. I don't know if he's cool. He might be cool because I know there are I have friends who have little kids who are telling me that their kids are Halliburton fans.
Huh. Interesting.
So that's interesting.
So I wonder
Um,
why. I mean, does he? Excuse me. Does he do children's books or something?
no, I don't know what it is.
What makes?
I know there was a video that came out that said he plays like Urkel did, and when Urkel tried to play basketball in one of his episodes, they said, and they put the two videos together, and it was eerily similar.
Really?
So I don't know, but
Halliburton, Steve Urkel? Wow.
yeah, Steve Urkel and Halliburton, they had the same jump shot, I think.
Oh no, that's bad news.
Hey, but his has been successful though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And so that's why I ask you, what about Jokic?
Jokic?
Does he fit I think non-basketball fans might know who Jokic is.
Yeah. Was Caitlin Clark a superstar
Oh,
based on that?
she's a superstar.
She's a superstar.
She's a
So it's
superstar.
not necessarily depending on how your stats or numbers or how many championships you won.
Right. Although that helps.
What about Draymond Green? If you say Draymond Green, well, people,
Yeah,
oh yeah, we know Draymond Green,
they might know him, but I wouldn't
but well, that means he's a superstar.
it was everything. It's all encompassing, right? It's all it's part popularity and part all the other things you mentioned. Like read it one more time.
Man,
Oh, you
now
lost it. Okay,
I
don't worry about
lost the page of this big ass dictionary.
it.
See that people don't even use this stuff.
Not that one. That looks like one of my law school dictionaries.
Yeah, do even in law school.
I'm sure they don't.
Superstar, a widely acclaimed star, as in movies or sports, who has great popular appeal. Second definition, one that is extremely popular or prominent, or that is a major attraction. So it didn't say anything. One who has won Emmy Awards, or one who has won Academy Awards, or one who has won championships in sports. They're just talking about basically a widely acclaimed star, as in movies or sports, who has great popular appeal. Is Durant a superstar? Kevin Durant he be a superstar?
I think so because you can be so good that you're talked about so much that everyone knows who you are.
But it seems like you have to. I'm saving the play. You'd also have to have won championships or something, right?
I mean, the prominent part, um, you have to do something to be prominent in your field, maybe.
Yeah, you're a superstar. But I guess you could be in the field of biotechnical research. There may be somebody who's a Nobel heavily decorated.
Right.
I guess in their field, they're superstars in their field. But then, but what if that's the case? Then that begs a question. We know what superstar is, but then what is star?
It's a lesser version of that.
Yeah. So let's see what. So if superstar is, it seems like star would have to be. Don't you miss these days when you would go through this with your, go through these books and hear the pages turn?
I do kind of now. Now it's bringing back memories.
Yeah. Okay. Star. Well, astronomy. Asterisk. Future. Okay. Now here we go. Way down the list. To present or feature in a leading role, to play the leading role in a theatrical or film production, to do an outstanding job, perform excellently. So it seems like to experience bright, flashing. Well, so it seems like a star has to do more with performance.
Right.
To present or feature in a leading role. So it can mean you could be a star player.
Right.
To play the leading role in a theatrical or film production or a sports team, to do an outstanding job, right?
Right.
Now that's actually how you perform. So
that sounds like Halliburton and Brunson.
Yeah, they do an outstanding job. They perform excellently.
Their leading role for their team.
They're leading roles for their team, but they're not. When we get when we're the superstar, they're not. Uh, okay, but they're not widely acclaimed star,
Right.
as in movies or sports, who has great popular appeal, one that is extremely popular or prominent, or that is a major attraction. So the star is somebody who performs well, but then the superstar is somebody who has great appeal. So
Yeah.
it seems like the superstar has more to do with popularity, like Taylor Swift
Oh yeah,
is a
superstar.
superstar. Beyonce is a
And
super.
is that the test when you just have to say, "Oh yeah, of course." Like it's not even like, are you a superstar? If you even have to think about it.
Yeah, if you say, I guess
If I say Giannis Antetokounmpo, what do you think?
I think people probably say, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, he's a superstar. You know, he's brought. He was a star because he did perform superstar, but he does commercials too.
What about Jokic?
We keep getting back to Jokic. Clearly, in terms of performance, he's clearly a star.
Oh yeah,
He's clearly a star, but is he a superstar? I've only saw him in one commercial. With bringing the horse or something.
right.
So is he wildly popular? Do people know who he is? I mean, all the white people probably know who he is. Uh,
Well,
but I
not all the white people, not the ones who don't care about basketball. Maybe might not know.
yeah. But if you ask the ones who hate basketball, hate black people, you said LeBron. They know
The-
LeBron James. Yeah, we know.
well, like that's a LeBron. Everybody like he's a superstar. There's no
Yeah.
question.
Jordan.
Jordan, no question.
What about Kareem? If you say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
I think so. Maybe, and it might not have even
Magic
been.
Johnson,
Yes, no question, Magic
Larry
Johnson.
Bird.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. He was,
yeah.
Bird and Magic. They basically brought the league to popularity in general.
Yeah. What about football players though? Tom Brady. Would you say Tom Brady?
Yes,
He
superstar.
does Hertz commercials.
Yeah, superstar. Who else?
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, because the NFL is so big, he's a superstar. There's no question.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson.
Uh,
Lamar doesn't do a lot of commercials. I haven't seen. I mean,
he might just be a star, Lamar
he's
Jackson.
definitely a star. So I guess if we say star is your performance,
Right.
superstar is your
Popularity.
popularity and stuff like that. So in
Right.
that case, but what about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander?
Star.
He's a star. So with winning, so you're even saying maybe even winning a championship just makes you more of a star.
Right. And let's say if he won 3, he'd be talked about so much, and that probably comes with commercials
Get some
and
commercial
all that
stuff.
stuff. If by the time he won 3 or 4, that's why that's kind of Kareem. Like I don't know if Kareem was a superstar in his prime playing basketball, but once he became the all-time leading scorer and everybody knows his name, and like Kareem, like people,
He did a movie. Remember,
yeah, that's
he
right,
was
Airplane, right?
Airplane.
When he showed up in Airplane,
Yeah.
and people start calling you by your first name, they know exactly who you're talking about. Kareem. They don't even say Abdul Jabbar.
Right. Am I a superstar?
You might be.
Bill, you ain't even a star.
Bill, Roden. Well, if you say Roden, people know who it is.
But Jamal, are you a superstar?
No, I'm not a superstar. But I'm like Jokic. I don't want to be a superstar. That's the only reason. I don't want to be.
You don't think Jokic wants to be a superstar?
No, I don't think so. I think if he wanted to, he could have some commercials and stuff.
Maybe
he'd be a pretty funny guy. Like he'd be
a funny guy.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you see him doing that commercial with the horses, saying, I just want to go back on my horse.
Right.
He could probably he's deadpan. He could probably be like one of those guys who's like have that dry sense of humor.
He could be a superstar if he wanted to be. Just off that personality, and to go along with what you've done on the court, and people talking about you.
We've arrived at something. Star is performance, so there are probably a lot of stars, but superstar is popularity.
And also, I heard somebody say this before I think it was Scalabrini or something like that on that NBA show, and he was, or someone else maybe said it to him, where they considered Brunson a superstar just because he played in New York, so he was more popular. But I don't know. I don't think he's even that popular, but it can like if you like is Luca a superstar now that he's in LA?
Maybe, but again, it's popular. I mean, I think if you say Luca Doncic, everybody know him, but I haven't seen him in a lot of commercials.
No.
I haven't seen him really. I'm sure I haven't really. I don't remember.
Well, he probably will now that he's in LA. We'll probably see. He'll
Right.
probably be in some commercials now.
Maybe he'll start even doing some acting.
Maybe.
And it seems like when you do that, you get to another
Right.
level. You know, you're known.
Right.
I guess was Kobe. Did Kobe do movies? I don't remember.
But he was a superstar.
But when you think of him as a superstar, because he won titles and his performance,
Right.
but not necessarily because he was he like a household name. You know, well maybe for the there was a point for the wrong reason.
Right. And I think the Lakers being on the Lakers, like Shaq was a superstar.
But remember, Shaq even now, tons of commercials.
Oh, tons of commercials.
He's doing everything. You know,
He was a rapper when he was young. When he first came in the league, he was a rapper.
How about Barkley?
Barkley, he's probably he's a superstar now, like post career.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and that's so funny. You could be a star, but you don't become a superstar to post career if you got all the if you got all the endorsements and you're on movies and stuff like that. So good. So we've solved that.
Yeah, we solved that.
So Halliburton is clearly a star,
and clearly not a superstar. Let's stop that.
Right.
Let's just put an end to that with our podcast, with this conversation. Halliburton right now is not a superstar.
No.
Okay. And neither is Brunson. And I'm not being some Knicks, some Pacers hater. Neither is Brunson. Okay.
Right. Okay. Good. You've written my column for me. So, so we've talked about the Knicks. So who do you like tomorrow, Saturday? As a fan and as a journalist.
You know, the easy choice is the Pacers, but I do feel like something is possible here, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it. I'm going to pick the Knicks in Game 6, and I don't think even if that happens, it's not like I don't think the Pacers. I think the Pacers could come back and win Game 7. So I don't even think it's like if the Knicks win, they come back home, it's over. No.
How many times have we seen that?
Right. We've seen the Knicks lose at home plenty of times.
And the air just goes right out of the blue. Oh man.
But I do feel like the Knicks could summon up enough to win Game 6. So I might as well call it. And so I'll pick the Knicks in Game 6, and then Game 7 is. I think both 6 and 7 are just toss up. So I'm going to pick the Knicks in 6, and in 7, who knows? You know, yeah. I do feel like the Pacers are probably the better team. I mean, top to bottom.
Well, they definitely have more players. I mean, they play more people. Although Thibodeau has been playing more people.
Right. He's adjusted. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean, he's been getting killed, but I guess that's coaching in New York.
Right.
You're just gonna get killed.
Right.
No, he's played Shamet. He's played a couple other people.
Shamet's hit some shots, surprisingly. DeLon Wright.
Right.
They basically taken Campaign out of the rotation, which I'm happy about. Every time I used to see him getting playing time, it was mind-boggling. Like I don't understand why he gets this much playing time. So finally, Tibbs came to his senses as far as that goes. Here's the thing. What I did say I thought Indiana was a better team, top to bottom. And in the NBA now, because of the new CBA rules and the aprons and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of going away from big threes and big twos.
Right.
You can't really do it financially anymore. So you're gonna have to have more of a balanced team. But when I look at the Knicks, right, they do have more star power at the top, in their starting lineup or like the top three.
Towns and
because of Towns, Brunson, even like a Bridges who makes a lot of money. And I look at that, and you look at the other side, you got Halliburton and Siakam. But then after that, you have these guys who've all played well, right?
Yeah, you got a bunch of guys who play like Nembhard. I always get those two guys confused.
Nembhard and Nesmith.
Nesmith, yeah, I got those Nesmith and Nembhard.
Shepard and Matherin and there's other guys, Turner, who's probably a bigger name than those guys. But I look at so yes, yes, they've been playing better and they have a better team, but I still do worry about, like, I still do put more trust in those guys who are like considered stars because they've handled the pressure before. They're they've handled that pressure of being expected to make the shot, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I worry about these other guys who the Pacers have. It's almost like momentum. Like, can you really trust them to hit big shots in crunch time if the game is close? All these other guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, again, that all goes into stardom and dependability. Can you trust? I guess Halliburton has been
Yes,
throughout the series. He's
yeah,
hit,
I trust him.
and Brunson has been hitting big shots.
Right,
Towns offensively has generally been playing
right.
pretty well defensively, though. But um, uh,
Siakam has been great.
Siakam has been really good. He's been
And
really
he's underrated because I mean he's a star. Like I mean he's not the star of the
he's
team,
a star. He's
but
played
he
well.
has a championship. He played a big role with with Kawhi Leonard, and that he's always been good, very good,
Yeah,
always.
yeah, yeah.
He's
That's
he's been he's been all NBA before, like third team or something like that, a couple
yeah.
times I think.
He's a very solid player. But they say what hurts him is that he's so consistent. He's always same numbers.
Right.
Same numbers. But in this season, this series, he's been doing really well. How do you think? So let's move over. How do you think they'll pair with Oklahoma City? By the way, is that a sexy matchup? Oklahoma City and Indianapolis Pacers.
I think it's a basketball nerd sexy matchup. Like if you're a basketball nerd,
Right.
it'd be a sexy matchup between Indiana and OKC because they're both similar, right? They're like, they don't have they both have like one star and a bunch of good players, but they play well as a team. Indiana, you think more offensively, putting up big numbers, the pace that everybody talks about the pace that they play with compared to OKC, who's definitely the best defensive team in the league, and they play a bunch of guys
Right.
and they're gritty. And you have the two main guys in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander versus Halliburton.
Right.
So that would be very interesting to see how that turned out. If it were the Knicks, I have a hard time seeing the Knicks beating OKC because they turn the ball over and that's what OKC feasts on. So I think that series could.
He comes to New York and
I mean, it's possible, but all these guys, this is the AAU generation. They've been playing all across the world and the country and the world since they were 13.
Right. Do you think that's why? You and Khalid do the Up Next podcast, and you deal with a lot of young players. Do you think that's why home court no longer really is a big deal because people are exposed to so much? They're playing so many places. They play out of the country. They play all across the country.
Yeah, and from early ages, you're exposed to crowds and crowds of being against you. You're exposed to social media hate.
Right.
So you already have if you're really good and have reached this level, you already have the mechanisms to block it out. It's nothing to you. You probably take it as a challenge. You're probably taking it as a challenge from an early age. So I don't think it's the only reason, but I think that makes sense. Like that has to be one of the reasons that these kids are used to this stuff.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about another hot button topic. It's more of a New York centric topic, but everybody saying if the Knicks don't win this, they got to fire Tibbs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But it is a New York conversation.
Right.
Fire the coach, But no, I guess you also, I guess you have to. I don't know why Tomlin all of a sudden got into my mind,
Right.
There are people like, how's this guy, But Tibbs, I want to say no, it's ridiculous because he's brought them to a point where they've not been in like 20-something years,
Right.
Now, I guess, and also because like you've been a coach for a while. I remember when Raisa was playing like youth basketball, she played for her team, and I had to sub in for the coach for about 2 weeks.
Right.
I swore after that experience I would never, ever, ever advocate firing a coach. Never,
Right.
never. I remember one game we were playing somebody who was like the favorite, and they had the best player. And man, I was so obsessed. I went and I wrote up plays, and we had extra practice. I called the parent, could we have an extra practice? And I've got one of those lids that you put on top of the basket. I
Right.
just
Right.
got like a rebounding drill
Right.
for like almost a half hour, man. All the people shot. And I said the goal was to grab the rebound, no whistles. And like you grab the ball, and then whoever came to me, I was standing to free. You got the point. But I mean, it was like bloody,
Right.
knocked down, dragged out.
We call that the animal drill.
Really?
Yeah. The,
Animals.
the animal drill, the animal rebounding drill. Yes, I love it. I love
Oh
that
yeah,
drill.
man. So I'm glad these little girls, man, that was like brutal, But my point is that then we designed some plays, and then at the moment of truth, when we had it was one play, and they execute wrong. You just sitting there helpless, helpless. And I said, then I will never ever advocate firing a coach
Right.
unless it's something like totally egregious. So I think Tim, I think he stuck to his guns. He has adjusted. He's playing. I think he's been a good coach for this particular Knicks team. Now, I don't know how you feel. Do you feel that sometimes a team or a coach can just bring a team so far? Do you think that that's true, that a coach can bring a team so far, but that becomes a level?
Yeah, I don't think I buy that. Like
Mm.
as a general argument. I don't what a, okay, in Tibbs' case, what you're saying that because he never got to a final with any team, right? That's the premise. Uh Chicago, he got to an Eastern Conference final with Derrick Rose, but Derrick Rose was young, and I don't remember too many good players around him, like great players.
Right,
And then here, he's the he's the first coach to have the Knicks back-to-back 50-win seasons since I think since the 90s,
right.
right? So you're saying two seasons is the most like you can give a guy like a third season, he can never get it done because he just can't get by. So no, I don't buy it. The only thing I think about is from the front office perspective, right? And those are the people that make the decisions. I could see the front office looking at it like, wait a second. You want to give Tibbs all this credit for back-to-back 50-win seasons. We put the team together.
Right.
We think this team is capable of more because
Right.
of the great team we put together.
Right.
Right? So I
Right.
think that's the other side of it. Right? It depends how the front office feels. And I've never gotten that feeling like the front office was all that completely in sync with Tibbs.
Yeah.
Even the past couple of years. Right?
Yeah.
They've given him guys, he hasn't played them.
We
So
traded for Towns. You got, but then if you look at, well, you're right. You look at Anthony. I mean, not who they trade the Towns for?
Julius Randle.
Julius Randle, who had probably a miserable conference final, but had a good season,
right,
overall. And they may say, well, listen, we got you a big man, So I don't know, but I my vote would be to stick with him again. But now, the question is, should the roster be upgraded? Because I guess that's another thing. It's easier. Well, I guess it's easier to fire the coach than to always upgrade the roster. And what do the Knicks need?
I think they just need more. Like I think they have a very good core.
Giannis,
Obviously,
Giannis.
I mean, if you get Giannis, you're losing two of
Who?
your guys.
Everybody.
Yeah,
If you get, are you
maybe
giving
you
up?
can keep Brunson,
Maybe.
and then maybe Hart. You can keep Brunson and Hart, maybe if you get
hard for Giannis.
Yeah, you don't need Hart with Giannis, maybe. You
But
think you do.
Are you gonna use Giannis plus Towns?
No, you'd have to get rid of Towns. Towns would be part of the trade. Bridges
Yeah.
probably is part of the trade. Then they don't have any picks. I don't even think unless Giannis, demands to go to the Knicks.
Right.
I don't see it happening because they gave up all they had to get Towns and Bridges
Right.
in the offseason.
Like come here and say screw this place. Man.
Yeah, so but I think I think the Knicks have a solid core. I think they would need to just add some athleticism, add some defensive players that are pretty solid, are solid enough on offense.
Would you bring in another guard? In other words,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
to like how the Knicks brought in Earl Monroe, to play with Walt Frazier. Do you think that why would you say the Knicks need another guard, somebody to complement Brunson, to play with him, to let him, because his style is being very ball dominant.
right.
You know,
Always has been, even at Villanova.
so what would another guard do? What would the
I
guard
mean, a defensive guard, a bigger guard, because Brunson is smaller, and then and he also has to be able to, like, a 3-and-D guy, as they say. Even though Bridges kind of fits that, but I think they need a little more athleticism and a little more toughness. That's what I was thinking about last night too, because you look at all the guys. Look at this. Now, you remember the Knicks in the '90s, right? They had
right,
some tough guys that were intimidating,
right,
right? There's nobody intimidating on the Knicks right now. Like, in just in general. Like,
right,
even Brunson's great player, nice guy.
right,
Bridges, nice guy.
right.
Towns, super nice guy.
Really nice guy.
Yeah,
Although they've been killing him on a couple of these shows.
right.
About he's trying to kind of go for bad.
Right, right, but it's completely see through, right?
That's
No,
not
nobody buys that he's tough. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
He
So,
ain't Charles
and
Oakley.
I think he is tough, like, in the sense of, like, play through injury,
Right,
finish
but
at
not
the
tough
rim,
in
but
terms
not
of
tough intimidation
like
wise.
going to the bar and throwing everybody
No,
at the
no,
bar.
no, no, no. Like Draymond Green, like nobody, like, he's tough in that sense.
Right.
The Knicks don't have anybody like that where a
Towns
tough,
would not choke Rudy Gobert.
right, and
He,
neither would Bridges,
right,
neither would Brunson,
right. They would not
neither
knock out.
none of them.
They would not knock out one of their teammates.
Yeah, who do they don't have a dude coming in and knocking out anything. The
Right.
Pacers have that on the
Who?
bench in terms of James Johnson. You ever look?
Oh, I don't know. I heard so much about James Johnson, man.
Yeah,
He's
he,
that guy.
yeah, he's that guy. He ever since he was at Wake Forest, I've heard stories about him. Like,
Is that right?
yeah, he's yeah. You don't mess with him. They say I haven't heard recently, and this is like a known thing. Like, he's like a black belt in something. He's big. He just doesn't care.
He doesn't play.
But he used to. He used to play. He's like in his 15th, 16th year now. So now he doesn't play.
No, that's Tucker. Tucker on the Knicks. Tucker would knock somebody out.
Yeah, he would. He would. He would. But so that. I think you need someone like that who was in the rotation.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
So who's that in the league? Do the Lakers have anybody like that? Does Dallas have anybody like
I
that?
mean, LeBron, like, you don't mess with LeBron, really.
Right.
I'm trying. Lakers, they don't have anybody else like that.
Luka,
That's
is
probably one
Luka
of their
like
problems.
that? I don't get the sense that Luka's like that.
No, Luka's not like that. But even you look at OKC, they, like Caruso, he's just tough-minded. Dort, you don't want to mess with him.
Yeah.
Even what's his name? Hartenstein. Like, not
Yeah.
to say he's like some mean dude, but he's tough.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you need, like, who throw their body around, don't care, throw an elbow.
Like
You know,
Plumlee.
yeah, like, you gotta be willing. You got a guy willing to do dirty stuff if he has to. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, Towns isn't that guy. Bridges isn't that guy.
Right.
They don't have that. So I do think the Knicks need that.
I think they talk about the Pacers let Halliburton's father come back.
Yeah.
I think the Knicks need to make up with Charles Oakley. I think there's a curse of the Knicks that I think can only be erased if they somehow mend fences with Charles Oakley and bring him back. So when they show all the stars, the fans go nuts, man. If they show Charles Oakley on the screen, they probably go berserk.
Right. But that's a whole beef between, Oakley. That's a personal beef between Oakley and Dolan. So, and
Right.
Dolan. So
Right.
good luck with that. Unless Oakley comes back kissing his feet, and we know Oakley's not going to do that.
Yeah, he's not going to do that. So we're just at an impasse.
Right. So.
All right. So listen, man, I think let's wrap this up. Was there anything else you want to? Have we missed anything in the world of sports? I'm sure we have, but anything that we have to get to?
I'll just bring up NFL season OTAs.
Oh yeah, you were there.
NFL, runs all this sports stuff, and it's closer than you think. And I was at Jets practice, Jets OTAs, the last couple weeks.
Well, you drove all the way down to
Morristown, wherever it is,
wow,
Morristown, Jersey. So
that's
yeah,
a, that's a
about an
haul.
hour 15
That's a
to
haul.
Morristown, and checked out Jets practice. New coach Aaron Glenn coming over from Detroit was the Detroit defensive coordinator, and now the Jets they hired Steve Wilkes as
Good, good.
their defensive coordinator. We like, he's a friend. Um, and then they have, they signed Justin Fields as to be their starting quarterback, so he gets to try to, I don't want to say resurrect his career, because
Well,
it's more like continue to prove himself type of thing. And they seem to be, obviously everything's going to be great during OTAs. It better be.
everything's great now.
Yeah, I even remember Aaron Rodgers in the preseason. Everything was great. So you got to be careful. But they're very excited. That they have like a dual threat quarterback for the first time in a long time. Um, the offensive coordinators coming from Detroit also, so they had a high-powered offense, and they're basically bringing that offense here. But the offensive coordinator is saying, that Fields has been phenomenal, and it's just like people always talk about the run, but he has an arm too, so we can use both. And the Jets have a lot of skilled players like Garrett Wilson, who played with Fields at Ohio State. So everybody's excited, but we'll see. But I just like that the Jets have a young quarterback. He's still young, like 25, 26, that they can try. That they can go to war with, and rather than the typical Jets bringing in some 35 to 40-year-old and and trying to make it work.
Right, right. Yeah, well, I'll be there. I'll
Yeah.
be there, and I'll be in Cleveland for the Shador height.
What,
You
what do
know,
you think? You think he'll win the job, Bill? Do you think Shador gets the job there?
well, I mean, we were talking about this. We were debating this. It's not like it's got a hellacious quarterback room. I mean, Joe
No.
Flacco, who's like 50 years old,
Yep.
Kenny Pickett, who is on the verge of being declared a bust,
Right.
and then the kid from
Oregon.
Oregon, is like 5'4",
Yep.
So it's not like it's just this hellacious quarterback room. So I think it's winnable. Will he? I don't know. I mean, I think he's got a lot to prove.
Yeah.
Just in terms of his attitude. I mean, he really, whether it's true or not, but I think there are a lot of people who just admit this kid's entitled, and all that. But if you could play, and if he wins the job, fine. But I'm still kind of on the bandwagon to go there just to see what's he going to do,
And I think he's everything I've seen, like little written or videos. He's humble. He's been humble in this, at least in this situation.
Right.
They asked him about if what number he wanted. He said, "I'm just a rookie. Like I'll take 99."
He's learned he's learned his lesson.
Right.
He's learned, at least for the time being. At least he's acting like he learned his lesson.
Right. But I think he's always been like, even at Colorado, like he was a star. But if you asked him about it, he knew how to answer the questions in terms of like, oh, it's not about me, da da da.
My team.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's
true. Yeah, that's true. Where his brother, on the other hand, I heard is a piece of work.
But but in the same way, like self-deprecating, like he said like his brother was up there. So, he was like, oh, all enthusiastic. He's like, yeah, I'm bringing the donuts, he was like, these guys, I'm a nobody, I'm just bringing the donuts.
He never said at Colorado. Neither one of them were nobody at Colorado.
Well, at least they know where they are, because they were somebodies at Colorado. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, I guess you could say that every rookie who's here, everybody was somebody somewhere else.
Well, the kid. Well, I haven't been to the Giants yet. I need to check out the Giants. We both do. But everything I hear out of the Giants camp is that they keep saying that this kid Jackson Dart has aura about him.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Aura. Look that up. Aura.
That's what we're trying to figure out. I was with a bunch of New York football beat writers at the Jets, and they were all joking about that. Like, this kid has aura, you know.
Or
Yeah, or bust.
we go over there. We go there. Or we go in another direction.
Right. So yeah, no, football will be here soon as usual. So
That's soon enough.
we'll talk a lot more about that, but we'll see what the Knicks do. Game 6, I'm picking the Knicks to win Game 6, 7-game series. But obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana takes care of
If
business.
I'm rooting for the story, if I'm root, I'm I want to come back here. By the way, there was a who's the columnist for the Indianapolis Star? He was going at it with Siakam. This is the same columnist. I guess he's a colleague.
Wait, that's not the same one with the Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, the same guy.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
You remember his name? Because I'm just forgetting it, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah. And I forget his name too.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
So that was him. Because I saw the video of it, but I wasn't sure who was asking the question. I
yeah,
couldn't tell.
going back and forth. Well, what do you mean? I mean, how could you? Because Siakam said something like they just tried harder, and he said, "How could you try? How could you not try hard?" And they kind of were going back with each other, And
Because I'm human. Because people are human. Like these are people who never had to never play a sport, or you're just trying to get clicks.
yeah, and I guess that's his style. I mean, if you could go at Caitlin Clark, I mean, the guy got suspended.
But he didn't try to go at Caitlin Clark.
He didn't go at Caitlin. He was called himself trying to be.
He came across as creepy. That's what happened.
Yeah, he's kind of creepy, really creepy. To keep him away from your sons and daughters, kind of creepy. But the fact that they let him, he's back, and maybe figures emboldened.
He's in New York, big press room. Probably everybody's there. He probably, he wanted to come across some
Greg
kind of way.
Doyle, I think his name.
Yeah,
is.
Greg Doyle. Yeah,
Greg
because
Doyle.
I heard Siakam say, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, and then the PR guy knew it was, it's Greg Doyle. Was in there scoring. Like kind of like with kind of admiration a little bit.
Oh my God, give me a break.
So, okay, if I did that, I mean, that's not necessarily my style.
Right. For good reason.
But some people, that's their. I mean, you can name a lot of them. That's kind of their style.
Well, good. That's fine if that's your style, but ask a good question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you mean? I mean, how can you? What do you mean they play hard? What do you mean? The guy said it's the NBA.
First of all, Greg Doyle, you've been around how long? Like, you've never seen a team come out flat in big situations? Like, what are you talking about? It happens.
These people are like, the Knicks are like their backs against the wall, and
right.
Shit. They at home at the Garden,
Right.
And we're gonna come just like I guess these guys are gonna come out at them, at Indianapolis. They're gonna come at them.
And I think Siakam answered it perfectly. He said, I'm not saying we didn't play hard. They just played harder. That's all. He's like, we played hard, but they played harder. And they're like, how could you let that happen? Because their backs are against the wall. Right. If they lose, they go home. And so, like you said, when they go to Indiana will have a similar feeling. Maybe not exactly the same, but they're not going to want to come back to New York for Game 7. So they're going to play very hard. And you would assume the Knicks would too, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see what Gray. I didn't call it. I didn't write his. I didn't call it his column to see what.
I'll go look it up. So I'll issue an apology if it's a good column.
Yeah. Well, he's. What can I say?
I know him. He's big. Does a lot of college basketball or used to.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, listen. We will. I'm sure we'll do this shortly after. We'll either do it Monday, just before Game 7, or maybe we'll do it Monday anyway, just
right
to look forward to series that the Knicks are not going to be in.
Right. I'm just glad we settled the superstar debate.
Yeah. Yeah. A star has to do with performance. Superstar has to do with popularity.
Right.
So there you have it. See? Simple as that. Come here. If you want answers, come here.
Exactly.
All right. Next week, we'll deal with what is cool. COOL.
Yes.
What is cool. All right, man. Well, listen, do you have got any reads, or you do have to advocate for people to bet?
No, I'm not going to advocate for betting at the moment, but I will advocate for the people to continue to support and listen wherever you get your podcast. We're still on Believe. That's BLEAV. Follow us on social media at BrosPod on Twitter, at BrosPod on Instagram, Bill Roden on Sports on Facebook, BrosPod on YouTube. The entire episodes are on there, so you might be watching us on there. And we'll be back, like Bill said. We'll be back either to talk Knicks miracle or finals between Indiana and OKC.
All right.
A nerd's dream.
Yeah, and that was a good series.
Mm-hmm.
That was potentially a good series. Good basketball. All right, everybody. Listen, thank you so much once again for tuning in. And keep sending those cards and letters. And we will see you. And listen, pray more now than ever. Don't get, enjoy basketball, but do not get diluted from what's going on.
Right.
All right, everybody. God bless.